Hey guys, good morning everybody. Today is Monday, November 27th. It is 6:22 right now. Market's gonna open in about 8 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up this room real quick and we'll get started shortly with our analysis for today. It's got a couple things here to update and we should be good to go. It's good there. A few more things here. It's good. It's good. One last thing, and it looks like we are good to go. Let me get this link sent out to you guys here in the premium. All right, and this link sent out to you guys here. Oh. Give it a few moments for people to make their way in, and we'll get started shortly. All right, as people start to join in, I'm going to go ahead and start marking up liquidity over here on our daily chart. So I'll start looking at levels over here. So we got the liquidity right there. Some more right here. Go down to the next level. The 8-hour level right there. There. Go down to the 4-hour. There. Going down to the 2 hours. You guys can see these current candles right here from the 2-hour and 4-hour are super tight. So as you can tell that there's not very much volatility here. All right, so I'll try to make these as spread out as possible. Good. All right, going down to the 30-minute time frame. As you guys can see, we're going to change this color up to red. So we'll color that red. And you guys can see there's not really much volatility that's happened over the weekend from now. It's actually been pretty slow. Going down to the 15-minute. Going down to the 10-minute, and here's the last time frame. All right, so we got a lot of low level liquidity right here. It's low level because it's on the lower time frames, and as you can see, price is pretty much just ranging. So let's go down to the 1-minute. As you guys can see right here, so we have liquidity above and liquidity below. So closest level of liquidity below is going to be over here at 35,357. This is going to be the first level of liquidity. The higher level is going to be up here at 35,392. As you guys can see, there's a lot of liquidity above it and below, so it's probably going to get hit and continue to push through, but it's going to be low levels, so you want to be careful about taking these levels here. So there goes the two levels of liquidity right there. Here is our clean chart. I'm going to go ahead and start marking up 6:30 right here. I'll mark up 8 o'clock right here. Let's go over to the 4-hour time frame, see if there's any structure here that we should probably look out for. So there's structure right there. There's nothing below. Let's go down to the 1 hour. There's structure here, but it's not really much. Yeah, it's not really too much. So let's go back to the 1 minute. It's kind of far off, but I mean, that's kind of where it's at. So I'll leave that as is for now. But anyways, this is going to be if price does move on open, that's where it'll be. So this is 1 hour support level down here. And then we have the 4-hour resistance up here. All right, so there goes the levels. As you guys can see, just looking at it from a glance, there's not really much movement here. ATR is currently, let's see, ATR is currently 5, so it's pretty slow. And that's pretty much it for now, guys. So we have everything pretty much marked up here. I think there was news pre-market. Let me check the news real quick. So the news pre-market was at 4:50. It was building permits, positive news. So that's about it. And we have news at 7 and 7:30. So we had news at 4:50, 7 and 7:50. So we got more news coming up over here at 7 o'clock and 7:30, I believe. Right. 7:30, there was news at 4:50. So I'll mark that up real quick. News over here at 4:50. That's kind of far off. And then I'll also mark it up. Over here, we're getting a big push to the upside, as you guys can see. We're coming back from a long weekend, guys, so it's kind of expected to get this crazy movement here. I wouldn't chase this move here, though, because it's probably going to come right back down. So I'd be careful with chasing this here. I wouldn't recommend anybody chase that. It looks like the liquidity above just got hit. Yeah, pretty much all the levels of liquidity right here got hit. So that level got hit. The one right above it got hit right here. The one above that got hit. So if you guys came in early enough to identify liquidity here with us, you guys could have taken any of these levels of liquidity. I mentioned there's a lot of liquidity sitting up here. So if one of these were to get hit, it was probably going to hit the next level. So as you guys can see, all the levels of liquidity right here pretty much got wiped all the way out. So if you guys took the trade there, great work. If you didn't, that's completely fine. I didn't take any trades. So none of those trades are going to count. Again, we have more news coming up over here at 7 o'clock and at 7:30. But all right, guys, it's just a waiting game now. We're going to wait for some movement here, some confirmation. I'm going to mark up opening price, which was this candle right here. So there goes opening price right there. All right. And also there, and then lastly on our clean chart. So you can see where price is rejecting from. It's rejecting directly off the 4-hour resistance that we marked up just a while ago. Right there. All right, so price is pretty much stuck at the 4-hour resistance right here. You can see we drew that pre-market. I think it's helpful that I've been drawing that up because you guys can see exactly where price is likely to basically stop at and possibly reverse. So if this starts to swing down, it's probably going to reverse right back down. Sorry, guys. Looks like pretty much everybody's here so far. So good morning, everybody. Today's Monday, November 27th. Hopefully everyone had a great weekend, great Thanksgiving weekend. Market is now open. As you guys can see, that's some crazy movement right here. We're coming back from a long weekend. Friday, the market was technically open, but it's still a weekend, holiday weekend. So we're going to consider it a long weekend for return. So let's see if there's anything else here that I'm missing. Yeah, Craig said, what manager are you trading today? Work meeting in 30. You have to want to be caught out. Yeah, probably a good decision there, Craig, especially coming back from a long weekend, long holiday weekend. Andrew said, I've noticed every Monday there's been a huge spike to the upside when people re-enter the market when retail is high. Andrew caught it for a quick 20 pips. Nice. No, it's solid, Andrew. Yeah, I've noticed that too. A lot of times I'm pretty tempted to hop in, but I just don't because I don't know how far it's going to push or when it's going to bounce off. But no, that's a good observation that I've noticed as well. I've seen some memes about it too. A lot of people joke around about it, about people taking sells on market open. They're like, why would you take a sell? It's you're looking for that bullish open, which is typically what's been happening. And then you can see again over here, guys, you can see where price is pretty much rejecting off. So you can see it rejected directly off the sessions right there. And you can see again right here, it's rejecting directly off the Asia high. So rejecting off the New York high, London high, and the Asia high. This is why I have the sessions up, because the sessions are very key in identifying where not to trade, of course. And you guys can see where a lot of manipulation is happening right here directly on the chart. Yeah, it usually happens like the minute before, Andrew, like right before. So if you start to see that push like the minute before market open, it's usually going to keep pushing that direction, for the next candle or so. That's pretty much what happened. Eunice said, I think price will hit the daily liquidity at 35,660. Yeah, no, if it continues to climb up higher, I can see that happening too. Pretty much all liquidity here got hit already, guys. So if you guys took any levels over here, all of the upper levels pretty much got wiped out already. So if you didn't take it, it's still a little too late. I wouldn't recommend kind of messing with it. Yeah, I have the other chart over here if you guys wanted to take, I'm still testing out the new indicator, the trailing stop. There's some bugs that I need to fix before I make it available to you guys. There's that strategy I was telling you guys about right here. I'm probably not going to be applying it because it's just too much work on the 1 minute. But from what I've seen, you can use it on the higher time frames like the 5. So like, for example, if we get a buy signal or something like that over here, we can probably follow it. So if a buy signal comes up right here, then you can probably chase it up with your trailing stop. If that happens, I mean, it doesn't have to happen, but if it does happen, it could be used as well. But yeah, once I kind of work out the bugs, I'll introduce it to you guys and you guys can probably play around with it and test it out. But all right, guys, so we'll see where this ends up going. There's no entries for us right now. The ATR is decent. I mean, it's actually not that great. It's currently 14 right now. So with the low ATR, there's not really much ability for us to take the momentum pullback scalps. We might be able to take some high-low scalps here, but as you can see, the level is pretty high. The closest level. So price would have to correct all the way back up. All right, so we will see where this ends up going here. Also have to see if this continues to drop lower or if it swings right back up. We'll see what happens here. This candle has about like 20 seconds left on it. It's rejecting directly off the opening price. Looks like it might make a climb right back to the upside. All right, so rejection right off the opening price. Looks like it might make a climb back up. But we'll see. There's nothing for us to take here yet. Let's see, Pip, it says you sign up for the Zoom access. Check real quick. Hey, Daryl. If you want to message me, yeah, you should get a follow-up email with the link to the Discord. It's gonna have like a premium link on there. But if you want to message me on Discord or on Telegram, just send me a message and then I can send it over to you personally. I know sometimes it kind of lags when it comes over, but if you want to message me so I can give it to you. But eventually you'll get into the group. Here, let me check real quick to see what your username is. I don't think it's this person right here. It actually is. All right, Daryl, hold on, give me a second. Looks like the bot might not be working right now. All right, Daryl. So just go to the Discord. Go right here where it says premium. Go to live Zoom links, and your link will be right there. Just updated yours real quick, so you should be good to go. Yeah, no problem. All right, so there's nothing for us to take right here, guys. As you can see, price just keeps coming back down. It's bouncing directly off the opening price here. We're kind of just waiting to see if price ends up bouncing off this area and swings back up, or if it breaks below and then there's a transfer in direction of trend. Because the trend right now is still bullish. As you can see over here, the trend is still technically bullish. We need a confirmation for these pivots to shift. Once we get the pivots to shift and you get the red pivot over all the other pivots, then we'll have a bearish trend. But right now it's still bullish. You can see the pivots are still kind of angling up. They're starting to turn to the downside, but they're still angling up. And the trend meter down below is currently green. So a couple of things here to look for. We'll look for a buy signal. The ATR is currently 15, so we might finally get an entry for a momentum pullback scalp. The only problem here is the, obviously you guys can see it's low volatility. So, I mean, there's volatility right now, but it's not very high. So it currently just went up to 15. This can also go back to 14. It doesn't necessarily need to stay up there. But you can see where price is kind of stuck. It's stuck in between opening price and the news price right here. I do confirm that the breakout is running. Yeah, I see that. There's a sell signal right there and two red candles. So if you guys are taking the breakout V2, there's currently a breakout V2 running right now. There's just not much direction, but it looks like it probably will play through, and it looks like it is playing through right now in profit. So breakout V2 is currently running right now if you guys are taking it. Right there. It's just at a tricky area because it's at opening price. So I'll come back and take a look at that. I don't want to leave the markup there because then I don't want people to think that I'm in the position, but the breakout V2 is currently running right now. You can see where it's pretty much stuck. It's stuck right here at the opening price. I think if it breaks out of it though, so if it breaks out of it, it'll probably continue dropping and the breakout V2 will be successfully played through. For my hedge account, I'm applying this breakout V3. It's so if you guys look at the breakout, so if you just focus on like the first momentum signal and you look at how price moves, there's a lot of different patterns that happen for the breakout. So we have the original breakout, we have the breakout V2, and there's a couple of different variations to it. I'm doing a different variation for my hedge account. I can't really share with you guys because the agreement is that I can't really share the hedge strategies with the public because it's for like a bigger account. So my advice is if you guys want to have like kind of an insight of like what I'm doing, I would recommend just focusing on the breakout because there's a lot of different variations that you can apply for the breakout, and there's a lot of different ways to make money applying the breakout. That's why I'm typically focusing on just a breakout for the hedge account, because it's kind of one of those strategies you can take and just set and forget it, right? Like there's a ton of different ways to do it. You can take it off the first momentum signal. You can take it off the first momentum signal and the two following candles for the breakout V2. You can take it by following just momentum pre-market, right? So like, for example, here, there was a green buy signal, and then you can see over here on open, this huge green candle right here, right? You could have chased that to the upside. There's just a ton of ways to apply the breakout if you just focus on just the momentum signal on open. So you can either focus on the one pre-market or the one on open. You can see both of them work pretty fine. This one happened pre-market and price still shot to the upside, right? Or you can focus on like the breakout V2 over here, where we had a sell signal come up once market is open. You have the following two red candles right there, and there goes the breakout V2 currently running in profit, almost to its full TP right here, if anybody decided to take that trade. So there's a lot of different variations to adjust here for the breakout, but they all kind of work very similar. Randy said my opening candle is on the wrong. Gotcha, thanks. So the opening was actually way up here, guys. Sorry, I put it on the wrong candle. This one too? Yeah. There we go. All right, so price is actually ranging in between opening price. Thanks, Randy, for the heads up on that. I accidentally put it in the wrong place. This one's fun. But yeah, if you look at this here, price is actually bouncing in between opening price. So we have a lower range over here. Once we have a lower low, we'll mark it up, but there's no lower low right there at the moment. So I'll come back to it. But if price does climb back up from where it's currently at right now, say for example, we get a buy signal and price decides to climb right back up. If that becomes the case, we can start looking for a possible momentum pullback scalp. ATR is currently at 15 right now, so we have some decent volatility. The only problem here is that it is still kind of slow. It's not as fast as we'd like. Let me move this to the top. Yeah. Just want to clean up these indicators here a little bit so there's nothing in the way. All right, we have a pending buy signal right here. The ATR is back to 14, guys, so it's actually a lot slower right now. But if we do get this buy signal to close, we may have a possibility of a climb back to the upside. At least opening price. If we get a buy signal right here, price might climb back up to opening price right here. There's no guarantee it's going to happen, but you can see that the trend is still bullish. So if you guys are wondering how I came to that conclusion, just look at the pivots here. Wherever the pivots are in conjunction with the red one, so you can see this red pivot right here, right? Whenever the red pivot's above all the other pivots, price is bearish. Right here, you can see the red pivot is below all the pivots. If it remains that way, then it's still bullish. But you can see right here that it's starting to shift. If it starts to shift and the red pivot goes above all the other pivots, then it's going to be back to bearish. So that's why I'm able to identify the direction of trend. Also looking down at the trend meter down below, it's currently green. So it's still, it's still somewhat bullish here. Let me double check the breakout V2 if it hit full TP yet. Not yet. So it's still technically running right now, guys. So the breakout V2 is still running right now. It's in profit. If you guys are in the position, I would probably pull out of it. You can see how price is kind of going back and forth right here. It's kind of tricky where price is going to go. So if you guys are in this breakout V2, I would pull out in profit because I think this is probably going to bounce around here and it might cut you out at break even. You just have to make the right choices here, especially when the market's kind of died down a bit. Like if price was going to continue dropping, it would have dropped already by now, right? But you can see right here, it's getting kind of slow. Unless you want to trail it, you can also trail it. The trailing stop is like pretty far up though, if you want it. Like it wouldn't have even made it in profit yet. But just this area down here is kind of tricky. So I'll come back to that. There's no other entries here yet. So there's no momentum counter scalp. There's no two green candles. I think that's something to look out for. If you get two green candles, you might want to be careful because that might be the setup for a momentum counter scalp and price might correct back up to opening price here. But again, the breakout V2 is still running. There's no momentum pullback scalps yet. The ATR is back to 14, so I don't know if we'll get any momentum pullback scalps. There's no high-low scalps either. The closest level is going to be up here, so it's pretty far up. Going over to this chart over here, yeah, there's definitely no momentum counter scalps here at all, whether it's a V1 or an original. But if it does swing back up, this right here might be the setup for it, the momentum for the high-low scalp V2. So here on the 5-minute, you can see price broke above, came back below. If it swings back up from here, it's going to set up for a high-low scalp V2 entry. So just keep that in mind, guys. If price does swing back up that area. So you can tell right here, there's not really too much going on. Let's go back to the clean chart. So here's a clean chart. You can see it a lot better over here. There's not really too much going on as price continues to bounce around this area. I'll draw a structure here just to let you guys can see where structure is at. This isn't necessarily the support because this is a higher low. We need a lower low here for us to establish the support. So once we get that, and there we go, we have a lower low there that is now currently pending. Looks like the breakout V2 hit full TP if anybody ended up holding on to that position there. So here goes the breakout V2 right there for whoever decided to hold on to it. If you guys held on to it, props, full TP right there. So I'm not sure if anybody held on to it. The only person I kind of had a feeling was holding on to it maybe be Madhu. I don't know if anybody else here is holding on to it, but there you go with the breakout V2. This came up at 638. I'll put that in our spreadsheet. So this came up over here at 632. Today's date is November 27, 2023. It was for a sell. It was a win 250. And there goes the entry right there. So nice work on identifying that, Madhu. Thanks for the heads up too, because I wasn't really looking at it. But there we go, 2 back-to-back breakout V2s for the day so far, or for the streak so far. All right, at this point, I wouldn't mind if price does swing back up. We have the lower low right there, so I'm going to go and mark up structure at that point. All right, so there goes right there, 4-hour resistance, 1-hour support. All right, let's see if we get that correction back to the upside. The trend over here hasn't really shifted very much yet. I mean, it's kind of just neutral right now. You can see how it kind of shifts up, then it shifts back down, then it's going sideways. There's not really too much going on there. Yeah, there's not really much here that's going on. The 5-minute here hasn't shifted back up yet, so there's no entry there for the high-low scalp V2 just yet. We'll see if this continues to tumble down or if it swings back up. But at the moment, there's just nothing for us to take here. The ATR is back to 13, so the volatility is super slow right now. There's not going to be any momentum pullback scalps at the moment, unfortunately. I mean, closest thing we'll be able to maybe take a look at or maybe even take would be some high-low scalps. But as you can see over here, there's no highs, right? The closest high is going to be way up here, which is, I mean, it's pretty far out. It's almost 1,000 pips away. So we need to get some direction and some movement here. If we don't get any direction or movement, we're just gonna have to sit tight and wait for that direction to pick up. The volatility here, you can see it's starting to die down. Each candle is getting smaller and smaller. It's just a replay of what's been happening for the past couple of months. And that's another reason why I can't apply the strategy. So if you guys remember the strategy that I introduced last week, the one where we kind of just follow it. So for example, where's the momentum at? So for example, we have a sell signal right here, right? You would have taken a sell entry and then you'd follow this line over here with your trailing stop, right? So we can't do that right now because there's not really much direction. I mean, if there was a continuous direction to the downside or to the upside, then we can do that because we can just keep moving this lower, 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 right? But unfortunately, we can't do that because there's no ability for us to follow, because what happens is we'll move this slightly in profit. And what happens is you end up getting stopped out for a small profit, or you get stopped out at break even. A change to that is you can do a one-to-one. So for example, see how we have a buy signal right here? You would enter on the close of that buy signal with a long position. You'd put your stop loss at the trailing stop level, and then you go for a one-to-one. So you do a 12-12 right there, and you can see obviously a full TP right there, right? Same with the sell right here. If you wanted to take the sell right here, you would take it right there. Your stop loss would be right there at, like, say, I would probably cap it at like 50. And you can see right there that it's currently running in profit. But yeah, this indicator is really helpful. it's based off the ATR. It's nothing special, but it helps you identify where your TP stop loss should be, especially if you're doing a one-to-one, because it does it pretty perfectly. When I first came up with the indicator and put it together, I was pretty shocked because it's pretty simple. It's just the calculations make it a little better than using a basic ATR. So for example, right here, you can see how this candle right here, the ATR is only 5. I wouldn't put my TP stop loss at 5, right? I would put it at this line here. It's actually at 12. So it kind of it gives it a perfect area to place your TP stop loss if you wanted to go for like a one-to-one. If you wanted to go for a one-to-two, you can do that as well. So same thing here. It'd be at like 12, and then your TP would be like at 24, right? It still would work out. Or if you wanted to do a 3-to-1 or a 1-to-3 or whatever it may be, a lot of ways to work with it and make changes for your TP stop loss. But eventually, once I figure this out, guys, and I work out all the bugs, I'll make this indicator available to you guys. I just don't want it to be all buggy once you guys start using it. But you can see right here, it's running real time with price, and it's actually it's pretty good, and it's pretty dynamic with identifying where where you should put your TP stop loss. And it works with all assets too. So like somebody was asking me about gold. You know, gold's one of people's favorites too. It's the same thing. So for example, here, if you wanted to apply it with gold and you're taking, some sort of entry here, obviously I wouldn't take these entries here. It's kind of moving kind of crazy, but I think this is the example I showed to them last night. There's like a buy signal right here. You probably want to trade in the direction of trend. So maybe not that entry. But for example, if this was an entry right here, you could do the same thing. You take a buy entry right there. Your stop loss would be right there at the level of 27. So you just do a one-to-one 27, 27, and it works perfectly fine. It's just based off the ATR, so it works off all assets. If you want to use it for Forex, you can use it for Forex. If you want to use it for gold, indices, whatever, that's how it would be used. But anyways, we'll go back to our charts over here. There's nothing for us to look at, so you guys aren't really missing anything here. Price is just going back and forth. So we have a new lower low right here. There goes the structure. And we'll see if price starts to climb its way back up from where it's currently at. We have news coming up over here, as you guys saw earlier, at 7 o'clock. It's new home sales. So it is forecasted to be pretty negative. You guys are looking to take that there. So Maddie said there's a high-low pending. High-low momentum. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's looking to take that, but there's a high-low momentum scalp that's currently pending right now. There's a lower low right here. This candle broke and closed past the pivots 1 and 2. And that's a possible setup for a high-low momentum scalp if anybody's looking to take that. I think it's kind of risky because it's really close to news. So obviously I'm not going to mess with it. But yeah, I mean, the high impact news is coming up at 7. I probably would stay out of the market for a while, guys. Until this here has kind of stabilized the market a bit. So this is probably going to cause some volatility in the market. And then after it causes that volatility, it'll probably straighten out a little bit. So they're forecasting it to be negative. I'm forecasting it to be negative as well. We're currently in December. December is typically one of the worst months for new home sales because people aren't trying to move in the snow, right? People aren't trying to move from home to home when it's like freezing outside. So yeah, I'm not expecting too much here. It was previously at 12.3 for October, and then it's going to come out with November data here. Typically, the winter months are not good for home sales. That's just how it is historically. If you're a realtor or if you do mortgages or if anybody has any experience in that field, you guys know that that's typically how the market is. It's usually going to be negative, and that's kind of what we're expecting here. So there's nothing for us to take here right now. Completely fine. Again, we're just kind of waiting. The volatility here has died down quite a bit. As you can see, the ATR is currently at 13, super low right now. Not really much to work with at all. Here's our clean chart. Prices keeps basically sitting around the low area over here. All We got news coming up in 3 minutes. There's no momentum pullback scalps because the ATR is too low. You can see down here, ATR is currently at 12. It needs to be at least 15 or above. So there's no momentum pullback scalps. The only entries we can technically look for here would be some high-low scalps. The trend right now is currently bearish. We'll see if it stays bearish or if it shifts, because if it stays bearish, the closest level is going to be down here. The only problem, again, so here's the problem if we do get a sell right here, it's right next to the sessions, right? This is not a good area to trade in. So it's going to be a red flag, even if we get a high-low scalp right here, high-low scalp or high-low scalp V2. Either way, it's going to be a bad area to trade in. Yeah, Maddie also mentioned that it's also against sentiment. So let's do that real quick. Let's take a look at the overall bias for today. We don't have it up yet. So today's overall bias. So retail sentiment is currently 75% short. This indicates that 75% of retail traders are currently selling right now. So you typically want to do the opposite and buy. So right now it's currently very bullish. So retail sentiment is bullish, 75% short. That's pretty heavy for retail sentiment. Fundamental bias. I'm pretty sure this is kind of mixed right now. The fundamental bias is currently, yeah, it's pretty neutral. It's at 55. So we're going to say neutral right here. 55 points. Short-term technicals, long-term technicals. So looking over here at the short-term and the long-term. So short-term technicals are pretty much neutral. You can see prices in between the pivots. There's not really much direction here. And long-term technicals over here are currently bullish neutral. The 30-minute here is pretty neutral. It's right down the middle. However, the 1 hour and the 4 hour are very bullish. So with that said, we currently have a neutral short-term. And we have a bullish neutral long-term. So we don't really have much of a strong bias for today, as you guys can see. I mean, retail sentiment is super strong. So you might want to be looking for some buys long-term. You might not, I mean, it might not matter right now, but long-term, you probably want to see for some buys throughout the week. Today it's kind of flat. So we had the big bullish push right here in the direction of retail sentiment. Then it came crashing down. It pretty much just corrected. So just see this as like manipulation right here, right? Price got manipulated right here on open. And then what happened, price came right back down to this area here, right? Price was going sideways before the market opened. And you can see over here, price is right back again in this area that it was in earlier, right? So not really too much there. You can see price is breaking structure right here. So this might be setting up for a high-low scalp. There's no confirmation of trend though, so it's not going to be a high-low scalp. It's just the pattern that we'd be looking for, which would be breaking closing past structure. So let's check the news event real quick. Yeah, so it was negative just like we thought. You know, it was actually worse, like a lot worse. So the consensus was negative 4%. It was actually negative 5.6. It was a lot negative. This is not a surprise. You know, I gave you guys kind of my analysis of it, why I thought it was going to be negative. It's like this every year. So whenever you come down to new home sales, it's usually going to be pretty slow in the winter months. So like November, December, January, February, it's going to be slow. And then it picks up in the spring, summer, you know, people are buying houses around that time and it picks back up, but it's just historical data right there. Like I don't know anything about economics, but I know some things about new home sales, of course, because if you're the type of person that's looking for a home, you'll be familiar with this, because this is usually a good time to get discounts on homes because people aren't buying homes. So like you'll see a lot of realtors come and try to give you some better deals during the winter. All right, so there's nothing there right now. As you can see, the trend is starting to shift again right here. Again, it's just going to be a matter of time. We just got to wait for some more confirmation here. There's not really too much going on. Yeah, Maddie said he's fine with sitting for today. It's just Monday. Yeah, same here. I'm not going to force any trades, guys. I'm going to wait for the trade to come to me. If I find something good, then great, I'll take it. But if not, I'm not forcing anything here because there's just nothing for us to take. For one, the ATR is very low. It's currently at 13. It's typical for the holiday months. So if you guys have traded the holidays with me last year or the year before that, it's usually like this. So this is no surprise. The market's typically kind of slow. I'm surprised that it moved very volatile right here on open. I was expecting it to kind of be like a slow climb or a slow drop, but yeah, I mean the volatility here is kind of all over the place. It's currently 7:02. I think there's another news event here at 7:30. It's the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index. So we got 27 minutes to maybe look for a trade here, hopefully. If not, obviously we're not going to force anything here, but we'll hopefully find something here as price continues to move along. So I'll mark the news candle right there. And that's pretty much it. So again, guys, waiting game. We're just fishing for these entries. No need to force anything, just gotta wait. The trade will come to you eventually, right? You just gotta be patient. I think that's the biggest key and the biggest problem with a lot of people. Like a lot of people can't be patient to wait for that trade to come to them because the trade's gonna happen. It's just, you gotta wait for it to actually happen. You can't force anything. You can't think, oh, the candles look like they're pushing up and I'm just gonna like ride this up for a little bit. You can't do that because I'm sure a lot of you guys have done that before, right? You guys look at the candles here and you're trying to force a trade. So you're like, oh, price is climbing right here. I should probably take a buy, right? So what happens as soon as you take a buy? As soon as you take a buy right there, it does a complete opposite and hits your stop loss. And you're like, damn, I should have just waited, right? It happens all the time. So just be patient, guys. I'm sure, if you guys have been trading for a while, you've had that happen to you a lot of times where you think price is going in a direction. And then as soon as you hit that buy or sell button, you get into the position, price does a complete opposite and it stops you out and you're super frustrated because you could have just sat out and waited for that to actually play through. So yeah, Shannon said sitting today also, it's so much easier to listen and apply after learning to listen. Yeah, it's really just being patient and not really forcing anything, guys. My main goal here is to prevent you guys from losing trades. It's not necessarily to give you like a bunch of winning trades, even though it does happen a lot. I'll give you guys my analysis and it'll play through. But my main goal here is really to prevent you guys from losing. Because if I can prevent you guys from losing and you guys have your wins here and there, you're going to be profitable regardless, right? I think that's the hardest skill for a lot of people to master. It's really understanding when not to trade. Yeah, exactly. Barack said mind games of the markets have been there. Yeah, I think everyone's been there at some point. Rashida took the high-low momentum scalp. Nice work, Rashida, on holding it. So Rashida actually took the high-low momentum scalp right here. There was a lower low. This is the one that Maddie mentioned earlier as well. Lower low, buy signal, broken close past pivots 1 and 2. It took a while for it to hit, but eventually it did play through and it hit. Full TP right there. Looks like Rashida caught it. So nice work right there, Rashida. I know that was a long trade to hold on to because this thing took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. About 9 minutes for it to hit. Usually the high-low momentum scalp hits on the first 2 candles. This one took some time, but it did hit. So I think that's a key thing there, understanding the strategy. As long as you're patient, you're disciplined, like Rashida here, she held on to it. It's going to hit. For the most part, it's going to hit. It's just going to take a long time for it to actually play through. So Maria caught it, Rashida caught it. I don't know who else caught it, but nice work, guys, on catching that trade there. Not one that I would personally take because obviously it was right next to news, but I'm glad that it played out for you guys. Yeah, Barack said he's traded fractals. Yeah, fractals is tricky. I know what you're talking about, Barack. A lot of people like to trade fractals on like something like binary contracts or binary options. If you guys have ever traded binary options before, it was funny because and I'll just give you guys a little insight on that. Some of you guys trade like pocket options, like on the top. If you guys have ever traded pocket options before, you could trade on like the 1 minute closures. The crazy thing with pocket options, and I wasn't going to tell you guys about this because I was going to save it for myself, is that there's a retail sentiment button. So if you guys remember, there's retail up here. If you guys have traded pocket options, it tells you real time where everybody's trading. So what I would generally do is I would just wait for it to go up to like 90%. If you have like 90% short, I would just buy. And after that next minute, price would go directly up. It's going to stop everybody out, right? And I made a lot of money doing pocket options actually. So I traded with one of the other members here that told me about pocket options, or I told them about pocket options, and we thought it was pretty interesting. So I made like a couple $1,000 on there. And then after a while, I realized that it was like gambling. So I just stopped trading. But yeah, if you guys do want to trade pocket options, there goes my little strategy for you guys there. I don't think anybody really knows about it because not a lot of people don't know how to use retail sentiment. But yeah, basically there's like a retail, it's similar to this, but it's crazy because every minute it changes or every couple of seconds it changes. As a retail sentiment bar here, and this is like bouncing back and forth from like 25 to like 70 to 90, and it just keeps bouncing. And when I see it get to 90, that's where I take my trade. And then like in the next 5 seconds, I'll even do like the 5 second expirations. So the next 5 seconds, it goes the opposite of like where retail sentiment was, and I lock in like, a couple $100. You do that like 5 or 10 times, you're up like $1,000 already. So it's a quick buck, but I caught on real quickly that it was like gambling, so I just stopped doing it. And I caught myself on the chart, literally all day, which I didn't want to be doing. So let's see. Other than that, there's not really much here to take, guys. Again, like I mentioned, the volatility here is very low. It's dropped down quite a bit at 12. There's just nothing here to play with. I mean, it's kind of just going back and forth, as you guys can see. Yeah, Valentine said we made loads from binaries. Yeah, binary options are very tricky. Because the thing is, it's all fake data. If you guys trade binary options, it's all off book. So it's crazy. You can trade binary options like on the weekends, and that's kind of where I was trading it. I was trading it on the weekends because the market's technically not open, but they have like some, they have an off the books data that's pretty much just running all day. Yeah, Valentine said that they banned them up in the UK. Yeah, I could see that. A lot of people who were in IML, if you guys remember IML from like back in the day, a lot of people who did IML, they went over to pocket options and they were doing binary options because it's so tricky. But again, it's just like a little gamble, right? You show people some money, like how to make a quick buck, and a lot of people hop onto that. So I don't have any problem with binary options, but it is risky unless you know what you're doing. So I don't recommend it to anybody. But if you guys are doing binary options or doing pocket options or stuff like that, that's a little strategy that I did. Made a lot of money doing it, but I could see how I could lose a lot of money doing that as well. Anyways, the volatility here is very low, guys. There's no ATR. I mean, there's not any direction here at all. So there's not enough ATR for us to take any momentum pullback scalps. I don't expect it to go back up to 15 anytime soon. So we'll just keep on this high-low scalp chart over here, and we'll see if there's any opportunities that may come up here. So this might be setting up for a high-low scalp. As you can see, price is coming up right here, but it's going to be at a red flag. It's going to be right at opening price. So if this candle does close above here, it's going to be a high-low scalp pattern, but it's not going to be one that I would personally recommend taking because it's going to have to break through opening price here and the sessions, right? And that's an obvious red flag. So these are obvious red flags right here. So I wouldn't take the high-low scalp if it does end up closing. This kind of sucks. I was hoping we'd be able to take something today, at least one trade, but volatility here is just not. The 5 minutes actually running, so as you can see over here. So the 5 minute high-low scalp V2 is currently running right now. Big direction though. So this high-low is no longer useful. This would be the next level, but still, even if you were to take this level here, it'd still be at the red flag. So the 5 minute high-low scalp V2 is currently running. We'll use this as a confluence. I don't really recommend people enter it, just to take it as is. We'll just use it as a confluence and we'll see where price ends up going from here. But that is pretty much the high-low scalp V2 that's currently running. For the liquidity, there's not really much liquidity here that's available. The clean chart over here, you can see prices kind of just going back and forth. Markup structure right there. So if you look closely here on the clean chart, you can see that price is pretty much just ranging. I drew the structure right here. This is lower low. This is the higher high. So this is the resistance. This is the support. And this is kind of where price is stuck right now. just a repeat of what's been happening over the past couple months. This is normal for December. So like for the month of December, having a ranging market is pretty normal. But we've been having this throughout November and throughout October. So it's not super normal. Like it shouldn't have been ranging like this for this long. It's been ranging since September actually. So September, October, November. Now we're getting into December, and this is normal for December, but previous months not so much. There's just nothing here for us to take at the moment. So again, guys, just a waiting game. I'll keep looking down at the ATR. The ATR is still at 12, so there's not really too much there to play with. Yeah, I mean, technically this buy signal is still running. So if you were applying the other strategy that we were talking about last week, basically you can take entries at these buys, and then your trailing stop would be like right here. So it'd still be running. The trailing stop just gets moved up. So I think price will be bullish here. And you can see over here how this line just continues to follow it. So you just keep moving it up until this green line gets back to break even. Then you move to break even. And then you just keep climbing it up higher and higher and higher. So going off this buy signal right here, it's still technically running. If you were to use a trailing stop. So you guys can see how powerful this indicator is. This indicator is actually really useful when chasing moves. So for example, the sell signal right here, you would have chased it all the way down here. Your stop loss would have been right here in profit. As price would have swung up right here, would have stopped you out in profit. That's why for me, I personally go for a 1-to-1 versus moving stop loss in profit. Or you can do both. You move it in profit, and you can also go for a 1-to-1. I think that's probably the safest way to do it. Let's see, Kenny just sent me a link. Let's see what Kenny sent me. All right, thanks, Kenny. These commercials are random. So it says, watch live, UN Security Council meets to discuss North Korea. Thanks, Kenny, for the heads up. So it looks like the UN is speaking right now. I don't think it's a huge deal, but they are speaking right now. Let's see, Maddie said original high-low scalp there, but open price in sessions, yeah. And price also broke past it, Maddie, right here, so it'd be invalidated. So this candle right here broke past it right there, so it'd be invalidated. It's okay if it touches it. I mean, typically we wouldn't take it if price touched it, but this right here, when it's an obvious break and then not actually close past it, it would be, yeah, no, and I agree with you too, Maddie. I was doing it the same way too. That way still works fine, but I think this way is a lot safer. Like I've been back testing it pretty much every day, and it's fine if it touches it, but if it breaks past like that, it's usually kind of tricky. All right, we're starting to have some direction right here. Price is starting to climb back up. We kind of just want price to get past opening price and continue climbing from there. We have more news over here at 7:30, so you want to be a little careful with that. It's medium impact. I think what's the news for that? It's going to be the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index, which is forecasted to be positive. Yeah, Maddie said there's a pending high-low V2 if anybody's looking to take that too. So there's a high-low V2 that's currently pending right here. We have the bullish trend. We had this candle break and close past it. So there's a high-low scalp V2 over here that's setting up. We had this candle break past it. If this comes back down for the fake out, then that could be a setup, and then price might swing back up for the actual entry. The 5 minutes currently running in profit over here. So this is the confluence for a bullish move. The retail sentiment's also very bullish, so we have that as well. Price is at opening price right there. All right, so if anybody's looking to take this here as a high-low scalp V2, I think 300 might be a little too far out, guys, as you guys can see. Yeah, 300 might be a little too far out because of the ATR. The ATR is currently at 11, so it's super, super low right now. I'd probably go for a smaller TP stop loss. maybe like a 25, if anything. Yeah, Maddie said 10 points would be the best. Yeah, I'd probably only go for 10, just get in and out super quickly. Because the ATR is just super low. You probably want to just go for like however much that would be, which would be 10. So this right here would be considered a red flag, guys, if you guys are looking to take this as a high-low scalp. But for the high-low scalp V2, we typically ignore the red flags. So if you guys are looking to take it, this here would be a high-low scalp V2 that's starting to set up. Here, I'll mark it up as a 300. And then I'll mark up different TPs for those specific price points if you guys are looking to take it for a smaller move. I'm not going to take it, at least not yet. I'll probably look for it to kind of touch, then come back for the retracement or fake out. And then I'll think about it as price continues to move along. But I just don't like the way the price is currently moving right now. As you guys can see, it's just a little too slow. Exactly. Yeah. So Randy said he wants to see it drop and maybe set a buy stop. That's exactly what I would be doing too, Randy. So if this does come and fill, guys, I'm not going to enter right away. I'll let it kind of push up a little bit, maybe fake out right here, come back down. And then I'll put my buy stop there. So when it comes back up, I'll catch it for the correction. But there's no entry right here right now. It's still currently pending. Come back for that a little later. But we'll see where this goes. All right, we have a pending sell signal right here. Pending sell signal still hasn't closed. So this is going to be the first candle. If it doesn't come back up in the next 5 candles, there's no entry here for high-low scalp V2. Actually, so I take that back. There's actually no entry here, Maddie. Because, or actually we take it off this one right here. Yeah, so it'd be off this one. Sorry, I don't know why this thing got moved over. For some reason it got moved over, but let me see. Let's make some adjustments there. Bring this down to 10. All right. All right, so I guess we'll see here where price ends up going. If it, I think if this candle closes red, it'll probably continue dropping a little lower. Nope, and it didn't. So we'll see if we get that correction back up. All right, so this is the first candle. We have a second candle here. We're now in the third candle. If this doesn't come back up in the next 2 candles, because there's a 5 candle requirement. Gosh, yeah, Rashida said I moved it up, moved it because of the wick. Yeah, that's what I started to notice off this one. I just pushed it up higher when we were looking at it. So yeah, I wasn't tripping there. I thought I was like moving it around on accident, but I had a feeling that was the case. This is what kind of sucks when you try to set up an entry where price keeps touching, because if it keeps touching like that, you can see that whenever it spikes up, it'll just move the higher high. That's why you kind of have to wait like 4 or 5 candles for it to establish, because once 4 or 5 candles pass through, then it starts to establish, and now it's pretty much how it's supposed to be. So, all right, we have the high-low scalp V2 that's still currently pending right here. This is the first candle. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 4th candle. If this doesn't come back up after this candle or the next one, then there's no entry here for a high-low scalp V2, and we'll have to change it to this next level up here. So again, I'm just going to wait. If it doesn't end up setting up, then that's completely fine. As you guys can see, there's not really much movement here. You can't see it too clearly on this chart, but if you go to the clean chart here, you can see that price pretty much faked out right here. And then it pulled back into this range. Same range that it's been moving in for the past hour or so. It's the same thing. It's nothing has really changed here. It's pretty much the same setup that we've been, or the same patterns that we've been looking at for the past like 3 or 4 months now. Price will fake out, come back into the range. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back down here, fakes out, comes back to the range again. It's just the same thing. It's the same repeat pattern. Especially if you guys have been on these live sessions with me every morning. it becomes more and more clear, right? If you guys have been with me trading like pretty much every day this year, you guys will see that these patterns, they just keep repeating themselves. That's why I like drawing the structures here, and I like having separate charts. We have a messy chart here for our entries, and then we have a clean chart here to make sure that we're not falling for any of these traps, because these traps are pretty obvious. They're not obvious to the naked eye because a lot of people aren't having clean charts. They have like this chart where it's like so much stuff going on here. You can see the range, but you can't see the trap being set up like this right here. That's why I like having a separate chart with nothing on it, aside from structure, so that you guys can see, okay, this is probably an area where I should avoid because there's a lot of traps around that point. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the fifth candle. If this candle here does not close above or does not touch this blue line, then this here is going to be completely invalidated, and it's going to be completely fine because there's not going to be any entry there. Looking at the current trend, there's not really much of a direction anyways, so it's not really a big deal. I'm actually glad that this isn't setting up because I would hate for someone to get caught in this trap. All right, so the candle there did not close. It did not swing back up. So at this point, there's no entry here for a high-low scalp V2. Typically, if this is how the market's moving, you can kind of assume that this market's not going to be good, right? Because there's no entries for us here. There's only one entry, I think, that came up, and it's set up for the breakout V2, and then also the high-low momentum scalp that a couple of you guys have looked at. Yeah, Rashida said that price could maybe be going for this lower low, and I can see that too, Rashida. That's a good thing. So like for me personally, I don't really look at these in-betweens. Like what I typically like to look at are just the higher highs and lower lows. So if you look over here, whenever you have these higher highs, price typically returns to those points, right? So price kind of pulls you down here a little bit and then pushes back up to where the higher high is. Same with where price is currently at over here. Rashida over here identified this lower low, and she said that's kind of where price might be pushing to, right? And that's exactly where price went. So you can see right here, price is correcting back down to that lower low. So if you guys want to do that, if you guys have my indicators, you guys can just switch your higher highs to just high lows, or higher highs and lower lows. And it kind of gives you a better picture as to, wherever price will be going. So like if you have a lower low, you're expecting price to come down to that point. If you have a higher high, you're expecting price to go up to that point. But it's good to see the high lows in between. So, eventually, like for me, I could have the indicator on like this, and I can still kind of focus on where the higher highs and lower lows are at, because I think those are better areas of structure. There might be a high-low scalp that's currently coming right here as well. The only problem, again, is that it's right next to the sessions down below, and we have news in 5 minutes. Thanks, Andreas, for the heads up. So we do have a high-low scalp that's setting up right here. I like taking high-low scalps that are off lower lows and higher highs because they're more established structures compared to the lower highs and higher lows. So if price does break and close below here, I'm expecting price to come down slightly. The only problem here that I would be worried about is the sessions down below right here, right? We have the New York low right here, and then we have the Asian low down below here. These are two risky areas to trade at because price can bounce off these points pretty easily, right? Price might come down right here, touch the sessions, and then shoot right back up. It's a bit of a, it's pretty risky in my opinion. I don't like trading around those areas. Obviously, those are like some of the red flags that I typically like to avoid. Any of the horizontal lines, any of the purple lines, blue lines, green lines, red lines. The red lines are going to be the London high lows. The green lines are going to be the New York high lows, and the purple lines are going to be the Asia high lows. So it's just kind of messy. Let's see, Rashida said, how's the 5 minute doing? It's still playing, but it's kind of just going back and forth. I think this is going to take a while. I think eventually it'll probably hit. I set up the TP stop loss at the trailing stop area right here. So I think this thing will just continue going back and forth. I think eventually it'll come back up. It might not happen like right now, but I think eventually by the end of the session, it's going to go back up. The reason for that is because of retail sentiment, right? It's so high. So I'm expecting it to correct back in that direction at some point. We don't know exactly when, but I think eventually it'll probably swing back in that direction. So we'll see. I mean, but if anything, if you want to have this for the full move, we'd probably do a 54. Just have price at those trailing stop levels. because for these 5 minutes, they're pretty much set and forget type entries. They're like those type of entries where you just wait. And you can see over here, price is coming back to this higher level, higher point of the range. And it rejected directly off the range right there. Yeah, Rashida said a V1 hit for a buy, but buy is not really confirmed. Yeah, I agree with you too, Rashida. Today's bias isn't very strong. I mean, the bias is good for retail sentiment, but the fundamentals are not very straight. The short-term technicals are kind of just neutral. The higher time frame is nicer. So if you're looking for a V1 on, say, the higher time frames, I think that'd be a decent move. There's one that came up right here, but it was like last night. It was a V1 variation double body right there. And it came up pretty smooth, but I don't know, it's just too, a lot of these bigger moves are just a lot riskier than I'd like. Yeah, Medusa, the V1 set up a high level momentum scalp. So there's another one right here, guys, another high level momentum scalp again. There's lower low right there. This candle broke and closed past the pivots 1 and 2. There's one running right now, it looks like. It'd be at a red flag though. So it would be a high low scalp, a high low momentum scalp pattern, but again, it's right at the news price right here. So I probably wouldn't have messed with it. For me personally, I wouldn't mess with it. Yeah, I'm just being careful. I need to hang on to this winning streak for the end of the month. I'm almost there. So let's see. It's November 27th. How many days are November? I just got to hold strong for the rest of the week, basically. Until Thursday. So I currently have a pretty good win streak over right now for November. If you guys have been following all my trades for November, I haven't lost a trade since November 23rd. I don't want to jinx it, but yeah, this is just all due to me being very patient and just being very disciplined and not taking any, random trades or risky trades at all. So I'm hoping to just keep that going for at least for the rest of the month. Didn't make a ton of profit this month, but haven't had any losses, so it's been pretty solid. Let's see, question from Gary. Gary's asking, can you just take trades based on your trend meter? I mean, you can take trades up based off anything, Gary. So I mean, it doesn't have to be based off the trend meter. You don't even need any indicators, right? You can take trades based off anything. So I mean, the answer is yes or no. If you're asking about quality entries, you're probably not going to get quality entries because the trend meter changes so often. You can't just be taking a trend meter trade. You're looking for it to turn red, and then all of a sudden it turns, like, for example, right here. This is what I mean. It'll turn blue, then it'll turn red, then it'll turn green, right? Like, yes, short answer to your question is yes, of course, you can take a trade based off the trend meter, but is it going to be a quality entry? Probably not, right? Because it changes so often. Unless you're trading on the higher time frame. If you're trading on, like, say, the 1 hour or like the 4 hour, if you're swing trading, then yeah, it would make sense. But if you're trading on something like the 1 minute, it's kind of tricky, right? But I mean, you can, like, I don't want to scare you not to taking trades, but you can see over here the trend meter goes from red to green. If you go from red to green or green to red, possibly, right? So, like, for example, here you see how price kind of goes from red to green. If you took the green entry right here when this turned green, you could have rolled this up for some profit, and then it turned back to red. You could have rolled it back down for profit. But yeah, I mean, short answer to your question is yes, you can. If you're asking if I'd recommend it, no, of course. You need a couple more confluences. You probably want to add in, like, maybe momentum or some other factor, because you can't just trend trade, right? You don't see anybody trade directly off trend. There's usually another factor that's kind of added into it. There's something else that's baked into it. Like, people will add in structure, or they'll add in momentum, or they're adding like something else. That's why for me, for example, here, I don't just look at I don't even use the trend meter down below. The trend meter is probably the weakest confluence that I use. I use the pivots here. Like, if you use the trend meter and the pivots, I think that's a bigger confluence. So for example, here, you see how it turns green and the pivots here start to shift, then you can take that for a buy. Right here, you can see the trend meter turns red and the pivots start to shift, then you can take that for a sell, right? If you use two trend confluences, I think that works better than just using the trend meter down below. Or you can use it on the higher time frame. Like, say, for example, over here on the 5 minute, This is probably better. So like you can see over here, the trend meter turns green and you can see the follow-up. The trend meter turns red right here. You can use that as well. And then you can just get out whenever the trend meter changes, right? So like, for example, here it turns red. So it went from green to red right here. You take your sell entry right there. And then once it starts to change to like green, or, you know, if it hits your TP or whatever. Now that you've mentioned it, like you could probably exit right here if you wanted to. But if you wanted to maximize your profits, what you can do is you can like enter right here for when it turned red. Now that you mentioned that, so I would probably use it for momentum and for trend meter. So momentum right here, the trend meter turns red. I would enter off this candle right here. I would set my stop loss right here to 34, which is where the trailing stop is at. And I'll do it for a 1-to-1. So you can see right there, I would have gone now right there for 340 pips. So you actually do bring up a good point, Gary. Thanks for your your little input there, because it actually does work pretty well. It works well when you use different factors. So I add momentum here. You add momentum plus the trend meter plus the trailing stop, so you can figure out where your TP stop loss should be, and it actually works very well. Buy signal right here, bring momentum, and then you can take that for a buy. All right, so going back over here, guys, I marked up news real quick. So we got news right there. I'm gonna go ahead and change this real quick. All right, there's nothing here for us to take. The news right here didn't really push price very much. Let me take a look at the news over here. News was negative. Price didn't really move too much. So news happened right here at 7:30. And yeah, I mean, it didn't really do anything. So we just got a bunch of news bunched up right here in this area right here, but there's not really much going on. Price is still going back and forth. The ATR is actually super low. It's currently at 10 right now, so we're not really expecting too much. If there's any other questions, guys, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll continue looking for entries here, but just looking at how the market's currently moving, for one, there's not very much volatility, and for two, there's just nothing here for us to take. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not really doing much here. Yeah, Andrew said consolidating and the momentum signals are coming quick. That's like one of the big red flags too. If you see a lot of momentum signals come up back and forth like that, it's not a good sign. Typically, that just shows that there's no direction. Generally, you want to have like one momentum signal, and then you want price to kind of go in that direction for a little bit, and then you get another momentum signal, with another push. But yeah, like what Andrew said, there's not really much here to work with as price continues to, I guess, kind of linger. Barack said he wrote it down on TP, so that break low, he got some. Yeah, no, definitely. You're welcome, Barack. I'm glad to see you locked in some profit there. So looking over here at our team profits for the day, we have Kenny with a total profit of 3,360 for the day. Nice work, Kenny. So great work right there. Kenny took a second trade right here, total profit of 4,080 for the day. Nice work, Kenny. So Kenny took 2 trades there. We've got Andrew over here. He said he took these trades here, hit perfectly. Total profit of 1,684 per account. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 accounts. So about 8,000 for the day. Nice work, Andrew. We got Valentine over here, total profit of 350 for the day. Nice work, Valentine. We got Gian here, total profit of 1,070 for the day. All wins. Nice work, Gian. We have Brock here, total profit of 18,465. Nice work here, Brock. All wins. Solid work right there, Brock. And we got Nathan over here, total profit of 570 for the day. Nice work, Nathan. So great profit so far. If you guys have more profit to post up, feel free to send them in. There's nothing for us to take right here at the moment. I'm still looking for some sort of opportunity here. There's not really much of a direction, but I guess we'll continue to look here. I think if this candle here closes green, we might have some direction. I think price might continue climbing up. If we don't have it close green, which looks like it's probably not going to happen, Not really seeing too much here, but if it does close green, I'm expecting it to kind of push up slightly, which it's not going to. It's going to close red. Yep. So here's the thing that I've noticed, and this might be a giveaway for something that I was trying to hide. Not really hide, but I wasn't really trying to make public. But if you guys look at these momentum signals, whenever it's followed by another momentum signal in that, or another candle in that direction, it's probably going to continue pushing that direction. This here is like pre-market, so market was kind of slow, but you can see how there's a sell signal and a red candle that follows. It does come down slightly, but because of the low volatility, it doesn't really come down very much, right? But if you go back to like another day, like say, for example, let's go back to like Friday of like last week, right? So if you go to like Friday of last week, so check this out. This was during our live session. See how we got a red candle, red signal right here, red sell signal, followed by a red candle. You get those two back to back. That direction right there, right? So it's kind of similar. I mean, it happens. You have to do it during like the actual trading session time, or like when the volatility is actually pretty decently high. So for example, right here, the market open right here, there's a green buy signal, no green candle. Green candle right here, green signal, no green candle. Red signal, no red candle. Green signal, green candle right there, right after each other. Look at that direction. It's like a confirmation of momentum. So again, right here, red candle, red signal, red candle. It kind of goes sideways for a bit, but eventually it does come back down. Same with this right here, red candle, red signal. Nice push to the downside. So you guys see, I see these patterns in the market. Like these indicators are meant to help you see things that regular people can't see, right? Because if you don't have the momentum signal there, it's hard to tell. But if you have a momentum signal right there, you can just follow it. Red signal, red candle. That thing's probably going to go in that direction. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here with current price, right? If I see a candle and a following, if I see a signal and then a following candle, it's probably going to keep pushing that direction. It might not be for an extended period, but it'll probably push down for, enough for you to get at least some profit out of that. So again, another thing here that you can look for. There's no strategy to it, but you can see that you can basically create a strategy based off the momentum signals. So like what Gary was saying before, he was asking if you can take trades based off the trend meter. You can, but I think it's better if you factor it in with like something with a momentum signal. Because if you tie both together, it usually, and then you tie another confluence to it, of course, not like every entry, but if you tie something else to it, like some sort of confirmation of direction or structure, or even a V1 variation type pattern, it'll help with confirming the direction. Because you can't just take every single trade. It just doesn't make sense to take every single trade that comes up, right? All right, so again, right here, red candle, no red, or red signal, but no red candle. Yeah, exactly. Campbell said, I'm a type to take 10 off that every time. Yeah, no, I would do the same thing, Camel. I think that's it. You see the pattern on the chart I just showed you is pretty obvious. As long as there's volatility in the market and price is actually moving, odds of that type of direction and type of move working will generally play out, right? So Alan's asking when's the next mentoring session? Mentoring session is going to happen next month, Alan. So we're already done with this month for November. We took that one a couple weeks ago. The next mentoring session will happen. Let me see if I can check the calendar. I don't think I can do, so I can't do next Monday, or I can't do Tuesday either. So I can probably do next week. I'll put up a poll if you guys want me to. It'll probably happen, or I can probably do Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Or if not, I can do December 11th, the next Monday. So I'll put up a poll in the group a little later if that's something that you guys, I mean, obviously you guys maybe would want it. But yeah, so we'll figure it out. So it's gonna happen either next week or the week after. All right. So again, this is the thing that I was telling you guys earlier. It's the green candle with the green buy signal right there. This will probably push for at least like 100 pips or so. I have to wait for it to close though. Setup would be something like that. I mean, it wouldn't be a 10-10, it'd be like a 10-30. And this will probably reach up to the opening price if it does climb that high. The only problem here is the volatility is super low. ATR is currently at 10, so this might take a while for it to hit, but I do think it'll probably push up and reach that area. It's just going to take a long time because the volatility is so low. I typically would take these types of entries if the volatility was higher, but there's just not very much volatility right now. So I'm kind of just waiting. Well, I was hoping the volatility would pick up towards the end, which it didn't really. And it's at this area that's not really a good area to trade in, because you can see over here from the clean chart, it's doing exactly what we anticipated earlier, right? So I remember earlier that I referred to you guys, I said price can keep going back and forth between this area here. Price faked out right there earlier, and it just pulled right back into this range. So it's probably going to keep just ranging within this area here, but there's not really too much to work with. So here, let's see. Vimal's asking, is the trailing stop based off the ATR? Yes, it is, Vimal. So it's based off the ATR. I kind of made some changes to it a little bit. So it's not based directly off the ATR. It's like there's a multiplier on it. So like the indicator that Vimal is referring to is the trailing stop indicator right here. So for example, let me just show you real quick. We'll use this for example right here, right? So this sell signal right here, the ATR on this candle close is 8. And you can see the level right here is at like say 28, right? So it's not based off the ATR. There's like a multiplier that I kind of like factored into it. I just kind of came up with this formula that kind of helped identify, where it should be. So it's like a multiplier that's added to it. So like, for example, this candle here closes, the ATR is at 8, but if you measure it from this point, it's at 28, but then it gets tight pretty quickly. So like the following candle right here kind of just stays flat. And then when it starts to drop a little more, it kind of trails it, and then it trails it even more. So yeah, that's the whole point. I created that indicator to identify proper TP stop loss, because I feel like the ATR is too close. Since the ATR is so low, it's hard for it to really tell where it's going. But with this indicator here, it helps with kind of giving you that cushion so you're not too close. All right, so here again, price is still in this range, guys. There's not really too much going on here. For that entry that I was referring to earlier, guys, I was going to put a buy stop there. So I'll probably just wait for it to swing back up, because it's going to be within this range right here. So I think if it does swing back up, it'll probably fill it and then go right through. So I didn't enter the trade right away, because as I mentioned, the volatility here is too low. For that type of pattern that I was referring to earlier, guys, it's good when the volatility is high, because when the candle closes, it usually continues pushing in that direction, right? But with this current market condition right now, you're just getting this back and forth movement. So even though there's not very much volatility, it just keeps going back and forth within this area. If you had higher volatility, where like say, for example, it's just like climbing and then climbing, then it'll be easy for you to hit your 10 points or whatever you're looking for that specific pattern. But the pattern right now is basically a huge range, right? And the range right here, let me measure the range. The range isn't necessarily small, so it's not exactly a good area to be messing with. I mean, it's not super big, but it's also not super. So we'll go from the outer points here. It's actually a 42-point range. So if you get caught in the range, it's going to pull back a bit before it goes in your direction, especially if it's having trouble getting past this area right here, because this is kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for price to break out of it and shoot up to the opening price over here. I didn't even realize, like when I first marked this up over here, I didn't even realize that it was at the at the top of the range. I was kind of hoping that it would close above it so that we can have that continuation to the opening price. I think eventually price will push up. It's just going to be a matter of time until it does. But yeah, right now there's just nothing here in the middle. So, all right, guys, if there's any questions that you guys have, feel free to put them in the chat. There's just nothing for us to take here right now. Unfortunately, it's just one of those days where there's just not enough volatility in the market. You can see over here from the our main chart that we can't really take anything here. We would look for some momentum pullback scalp, but we need the ATR to be at least 15. I think the 15 ATR is pretty much universal. It doesn't matter if it's just for the momentum pullback scalp. It's pretty much for any other entry that would come up. There were no high-low scalps that came up today, as you guys can see. All these levels here. There were some highs here, but price would touch it, not actually break and close past it. Another one right here, price touched it, didn't break and close past it. And another one here that's currently pending. Other than that, there's not really too much here going on. You can see price has just been ranging between these two zones. I mean, pretty much all session. So if we go over here to our clean chart again, and if we measure the time distance, so we'll measure date distance or time distance from when price got into this range up until now. Price has pretty much been ranging within this area for about an hour and a half, which is pretty unreasonable for New York Open, right? You'd expect some direction during New York Open. Market open right here at 6:30. It broke into this range at like 6:34. So it's been within this range for about an hour and a half now, with not really too much direction. The good thing about this is that, price is going to break out eventually. It's going to have to break out of this range. And where do you think the price is going to break out to? I think the price is going to break out to the upside, of course, right? Because if you look at retail sentiment, I think that's going to be the biggest factor here to look at, because the fundamentals aren't going to really do anything if price just keeps going back and forth down the middle. I think the biggest factor here is going to be the retail sentiment. Retail sentiment still at 75% short. So you can see that a lot of retail traders are still selling right now. I think eventually all these people are going to get screwed when price decides to climb back up. I think it might take some time, but eventually price will climb back up and it will push through. I just don't know when it will happen, because it's just going back and forth from where it's currently at. So, all right, guys, if there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. There's just nothing for me to cover right now. If there's something for us to cover, I mean, I wish there was something for me to cover because it wouldn't be so boring right now during the session, but right now it's just going back and forth between here. But there's just nothing for us to take here right now. Let's see. Question from Lisa. Lisa is asking, hey, Sean, what data do you recommend when purchasing from TradingView to trade US30? So for me personally, I use CME. It's a CME group data. It's basically the futures data. If you use this data here, it's going to give you like basically the raw data, like the real data directly from the exchange. A lot of brokers don't use it unless you're trading it with a futures broker. But if you want like the actual, legit data where it's not manipulated by any broker, then it would be CME. Because US30 or YM, US30 is really just YM. YM is the actual future. So that's why we look at YM, because US30 is just a copy of YM. This is like where it actually comes from. So if you want to get it straight from the source is YM, it's the future data. If you type in US30, this is all data from different brokers. So brokers can set their own data. They set their own pricing. They set their own spreads. They set everything kind of however they want it to be set. If you want the raw data, you would go to the futures. So like, for example, YM is a future data. It's CBOT, Chicago Board of Trade, which is where the data comes from. We get that from CME Group. There's two different data you can buy. You can buy CME Group and you can buy ICE. They're pretty much the same thing. So I would just go with CME. It's cheaper. CME is like, I think 60 or 55 for a year. ICE is like, I don't know, like 150 for a year, I think. But it's pretty much the same data. But if you get CME Group, you'll have all the different features. So if you want to trade NASDAQ, you go to NQ. That's going to be like the actual, like legit NASDAQ information. If you want to trade S&P, you go to ES. That's going to be S&P. If you want to trade gold, that's GC. You're going to get the actual gold futures. So you're just going to get the best data that's not manipulated. So this is usually going to move a little faster than any other broker that you're using, because the broker is getting the data from here and then they're manipulating it to to move at their spreads and at their liquidity. So I would recommend using CME Group if you are looking to use them. But all right, guys. Yeah, Alan said last week Henko was almost 40 points from CME. Today it's around 12. Yeah, because they set their own data, Alan. So like I was mentioning, the brokers will set their own data. So it's just really up to whatever they want to set it to, versus like say, CME, which is like the actual raw data. Because there's like no spread here. If you look at the spread here, it's like down like 1 or 2 points. So there's not really much for them to, there's no fluctuation unless the market is closed. All right, guys, it's 7:52 right now. Unfortunately, there was nothing for us to take today, guys. No trades. Randy said didn't take any trades today. He's out for the day. Yeah, probably the best decision right there, Randy. There's nothing for us to take here. If you guys have more profit to post up, feel free to send them in. Unfortunately, there's no official trades today. There's just no volatility, prices going back and forth. And it's just, it's just a stale market. I think price will continue ranging around this area before it eventually chooses its direction and moves, up or down. So, all right, guys, I think that's it. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, we'll wrap this up for the day. Come back tomorrow fresh. Hopefully the market will actually be moving tomorrow and we can take some trades with the direction, not this just back and forth movement that's been going for over an hour and a half. So, all right, guys, other than that, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys back here tomorrow for the next live.